balance of payment. Almost all the countries are considering tourism in priority. Travel and tourism has emerged as one of the fastest growing industries worldwide, influencing the development of other industries, such as construction or agriculture and transport or other. In total, travel and tourism generated 9.8% of global GDP. The direct contribution of travel and tourism to GDP in Iran was 1.5% of total GDP in 2018, and it is forecast to rise by 3% in 2019. And to rise by 5% from 2018 to 2026 World Travel and Tourism Council. According to statistics from the Culture, Heritage and Handicraft and Tourism Organization, the share of tourism industry in the Iranian GDP is nearly 190 million, 2.4% dollars, which is expected to rise to 4% in 2023. Currently, there are 475,000 Iranian works in the tourism-related industries, making up 1.2% of the total workforce in Iran. During 2018, around 5,100,000 tourists visited Iran, which shows growth of 300,000 visitors as compared in 2016. This graph shows Iran total contribution of travel and tourism to GDP. This graph is from Iran currency. If you see, it is IRR, it's Iran currency, but I'm converting to dollars. If you see 2007, it was $352 billion was GDP, but in 2007, $445 billion, and the expected growth for 2027. The next slide, it's literature review. Actually, I read different article from India or some other place, summarize, and I mention a few of them. They mention about promotion techniques. All writers from India. In 2007, Kapoor and Kumar, they said it is necessary that information, very short I'm saying, I'm not reading all of that. It is necessary that information about the product reach a prospective consumer. And in 2012, Anju from India again, he said information technology, IT, and ICT has played an important role in the development of tourism. Computerized reservation system, CRS, were among the first applications of IT worldwide. And Anand in 2013 also state that the information communication technology, ICT, plays a major role in tourism, travel, and hospitality industry. And Niraj 2015, he said, social media can be one of the most effective tools for destination marketing and advertising. Iran tourism industry. According to the World Tourism Organization, tourism in Iran ranks 10th in ancient and historical attractions, and 5th in the world in natural attraction, and is one of the safest countries in the region for foreign tourists. The WTTC report also shows international visitors spent $1.28 billion in Iran in 2018. The council expected the number of international arrivals to stand at 6.5 million in 2020. Iranian tourist industry ranks 98 in 2013, and 97 in 2015, and 93rd in 2017. Very short and fast, I'm saying. Okay, as the graph, this is a graph, yeah. As we see in this graph, Iran was grow from 2007 to 2017. And we expected grow more in future in international tourist arrivals. And the next slide also is the graph. It is the Travel and Tourism Competitiveness Index 2018. It shows that Iran was successfully in two things. First, improving travel and tourism, T&T, and the second, environment sustainability. Okay. Tourism marketing in Iran. Very short also answering this one. Marketing of tourism is beneficial to economy, but Iran had some challenges. For example, various countries are using the latest technology, tools, and strategy for marketing and promotion of the tourist place, such as ICT, internet, and their applications. But Iran, they don't attention much for using latest technology and strategy for promoting of tourism. And the obstacles of for Iran tourism. The first one is economy barriers. The sanction, unfortunately, the sanction deter of foreign investors from entering the Iranian market. And the next one is the lack of willingness of the private sectors. This one also, I'm going, the next one is, the next barrier is socio-culture barriers. This one also is important. I'm saying the first one, participation of the community, the decision-making process is very low. And some of the tourism sector managed in Iran do not have related education. They don't have any education about tourism. And the third one, lack of basic facility. And the next, massive propaganda against Iran in foreign media. Unfortunately, this is so bad, but there is no any things in Iran if you come there. The next one, language barrier, because unfortunately, after the revelation of Iran, most people doesn't know English or some other language. But before that, people knows English, French, but now they are focusing in Persian, just they are speaking Persian. And the next one, lack of active participation in international exhibition abroad. Zero, they didn't do anything. And the next barrier is political barrier. Political instability and regional conflict. International sanction against Iran and unfavorable advertising environment for isolating Iran. Not having long terms for tourism. Lack of the relation between organization and government agency. And inadequate service and visa problem. These are the problems in politics. And the next one is, the next barrier is technical. Lack of a good website, mobile apps, and virtual tours. There is some website, there is some apps, but if I'm comparing to India or some other country, it's useless. It's just a name website or just a name apps. And the next one, environment barrier. Underdevelopment of Persian Gulf Coast, not having any water park. And some other environment barriers also is air pollution. Legal barriers, not enough investment in tourism sectors. Very short I'm saying because just 10 minutes I have time. A strategy for Iran tourist industry development. Economy barrier strategy. Investing a road transport system, hotels, accommodation, and high-speed internet. Developing marketing strategy to increase the medical tourism arrives from neighborhood. And the next one, sustainable development of coastal tourism. And next one, improving condition for the presence for foreign investors, or expanding the transportation network, land, air, railway, and granting loan and facility to the private sectors. Unfortunately, private sectors, they don't have any power and government don't support them. The next one is socioculture. Registration of cultural heritage in UNESCO list, and reviving the celebration and rituals and ancient Persia and festival, and preserving the environment. Or the next one, exporting culture products such as Iranian movie, film, or music or book, because Iran has very deep music culture, so they can exporting this culture. And the next one, hosting international sporting events in Iran. Okay. Technology barrier strategy. Development of the website and apps. Absolutely, these are very important. We have to developing of them. And environment barriers strategy. Developing tourism infrastructure in the main city, in big city, for example, like Tabriz, Isfahan, Shiraz, Tehran, or construction tourist accommodation center. Or next one, sustainability in tourism management, or development of rural tourism and tourism in desert area, because Iran has desert place. Political barrier strategy. Modify visa laws and regulations, or non-mandatory hijab for non-Muslim tourism. Unfortunately, this rule is extremely bad. Extremely bad. And conclusion. The study shows that foreign culture tourists consider Iran cultural attraction as a unique and untouched country. But for different reasons, such as presenting an unfavorable image of Iran, lack of using technology language barrier, and much more, which I have mentioned in last slide, Iran couldn't be successfully in travel tourism industry, unfortunately. And in the end, this research suggested a set of strategy to overcome the tourism development barrier in Iran. Thank you so much to listen to me.
We thank you, Mr. Ali. Do you have questions, please? I have one, if you allowed me, please. You say that in the eye of foreigner tourists, Iran seems an untouchable country. But for example, if there is somebody more that loves the adventure, is it difficult for him or for her to visit your country?
Actually, see, if you want
this coronavirus conditions, generally talking.
Yeah. Actually, if you want to go somewhere in some city or some country, the first thing you are searching at the Google and the internet, and you are looking how is there. The first thing is important for everyone is safety. So when you are going to internet and searching, you will see, oh my God, there is no any safety. This is the first thing. But for India, there is no. In India also, if because 10 years I'm in India, if I'm comparing safety, Iran and India, maybe I can say Iran is more safety, because at the night, maybe there is some problem at the city, you know, I'm talking about what. So, but in Iran, no any security checking, because in India, when we are going to metro, when we are going to mall, when we are going to anywhere, there is some security check. But in Iran, there is no any security check because it's safety. But when you are searching at the Google, there is no safety. So I told, as a propaganda of media, it's against of Iran. So absolutely, anybody go to Iran, after went to Iran and visit Iran, when they are coming out, they are saying there is no any problem. So unfortunately for this just with documentary, just with sharing the experience, the previous tourists, we can solve this problem. But in India, no, we don't have this problem in India. Everyone can come here and enjoy.
What about the academic tourism, let's say?
What about what?
Academic tourism.
Exchange of ideas between lecturers, professors, students.
Universities, yes.
Like we're doing now.
I'm saying there is not any problem, because around 2 years ago or 3 years ago, for process for taking visa is so easy, and with this method, many of my friends from Europe or from America, they came to Iran. I was not there, but they visited my family. So for academic also, there is no any problem. Most welcome to Iran.
Yes, thank you. Other questions, please?
I have a question. So from your research, you have chosen Iran for a specific, I mean, because of their lack of awareness in terms of tourism. I mean, do you have like, you know, India is very well known for tourism, because countries like Europe, in Europe, like United Kingdom, are promoting India, but Iran lacks of this promotion. Maybe start from academic field and involve some professors and PhD students in conferences, and then start, you know, would that be a good idea? Maybe.
Absolutely, absolutely. Actually, in Iran also there is many conference, international conference. See, if you don't search about Iran, just if you are looking magazine or media, you are afraid for going to Iran, okay? But when you are searching about this, or if you are connecting to Iranian people, if you are connecting to some people went to Iran for academic also, because there is no any problem, and many international conference also is there, and we can keep in touch with European country. But see, we have to make this bridge between Iran and bad media and Europe or some other country. So if you search the YouTube, you can see different media. Some media is, I can share at the group if you want. Some media is against of Iran, and some media is it's saying Iran is safe and there is no any problem. For academic also, I think this is the best method. Apart from academic conference, academic professors, and international conference, yes, we can do that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay.
Thank you for hearing me.
Thank you. Have a nice day.
Thanks.
And now let's go back to history. We are listening Aurelia Ilieș, that is with us. And she prepared the presentation together with Ramona Teodora Gheoc Tănase and Oleg Petelka, talking about insights on culture and conflicts through the eyes of Montesquieu, Adam Smith, and Max Weber. Welcome, Aurelia.
Hello, I'm trying to share my presentation right now.
Yes, we can hear you, we can see you, so good luck.
Thank you. Can you tell me if you see my screen right now?
Aurelia, use the share screen function, you know, the green one in the bottom.
The green one.
On your laptop, you have like a green button.
Yeah, I used another function.
Okay.
But I have some issues with the security and privacy of the access. I don't know why, because I've done that before.
So you are not allowed to, or?
Yes, I'm
Try
trying.
again.
see if I have set anything in my computer.
Try again now. Just click on the share screen or Alt S. Okay, we can
Okay.
see.
Okay. So what I want to present you today, there are some insights on culture and conflicts that we found in the works of Montesquieu, Adam Smith, and Max Weber. And to summarize our approach to say so, what we've tried is to define culture through some other ways. We all know Hofstede's dimensions or the world value surveys that are treating culture, and even defined it through some popular instruments such those cultural dimensions. So what we're trying to do here is to focus on the material part of culture, which is based on norms, rules, and attitudes that we can find mainly in the works of Montesquieu, and the morality part, if we can if we can say so, that we can find it also in the two major works of Adam Smith, the Theory of Moral Sentiments and Wealth of Nations, and also their application, if we can say so, from Weber's work that treated these components of culture represented by morality, and this deriving from mainly from religious views. And that's I don't know, a tricky thing in here to say so, because what Weber did was much more applied research on how these religious views influenced systems. And we made some references on capitalist societies and socialist societies and even communist societies. And we are interested in how China evolves, because in these references that we have, China was seen as a perfect model, or I don't know, at least perfectible, because they have culture and they have a sustained model that was able to develop and have what we today see, almost a covering of all areas, industries, and we know what other plans China has with the world. So I was, my presentation is in Romanian and English. So if you'll allow me, I'll continue with English. I saw we have some foreign participants in here. So I will start with the ideas that we actually developed in here. You can stop me at any time. This paper is very large and I couldn't summarize it best. So what we are saying is that regarding to culture is that the choice is always ours as individuals, and that culture is in fact a choice. And we can say that opinions followed by actions contrary to the collective interest, and we are talking about conflicts now, are also a choice, but this time is not a choice that is available to everyone, but exclusively to the decision makers, whether they are influenced or by outsider or not. So this paper is an intent to be a foray into a more or less delimited time and space in order to identify, in order not to repeat the same mistakes and not to fall into the same traps, what led to the regression of societies as a whole in different periods of mankind. Because I was saying earlier that culture is seen throughout this paper as the main factor of progress in societies. Conflicts are the other way around, and trade has mixed influences, to say so. In some cases, we have conflicts deriving from trade, and in some others we have, I don't know, friendships and long-term partnerships and so on. So we are saying it all starts with individuals and for individuals, talking about societies, of course. And it's quite clear now that we will never be able to conceive the collective interest before the personal interest. This is the focus in all three authors studied. We encounter much emphasis on self-interest and on how to pursue your self-interest in order to be able to think at least on some collective interest. So we think, and this is a reference on Romania, that the idea of social organization is completely distorted in today's democracy, and what is not democracy requires a low level of education, and what is not freedom of expression is an abuse even of the divine laws. Because we can see now that, and I'm referring to these pandemics, that people are not following some simple rules, some rules that are affecting, of course, their own survival, if we can say so. And there is a reference to the last book of Hayek, an interest quote in there about socialism and why that was a mistake. It was a question. And he says that the idea of socialism is both grandiose and simple. But we can say, in fact, that it is one of the most ambitious creations of the human spirit, so magnificent, so bold, that it has rightly aroused the greatest admiration. If we want to save the world from barbarism, we must reject socialism, but we cannot carelessly throw it away. And that's what capitalists try to do at that moment. And I have some introductions, to say so, in this literature review, extended literature review, if I can say so.
Shortly, please. Yeah, maybe you share conclusions with us, please.
Yes, I can go on the conclusion.
Or you can make a synthesis of all this idea before conclusions, but please make it short.
I will try. As I said at the beginning, it's not some a simple approach that is embodied in here, but I will try it, because our focus was on identifying some cultural features that are specific, or better say, are general to most of the societies we have today. And it's a historical analysis because it was interesting how other societies fold and disappeared. But I will go directly on the conclusion part. We have interesting findings, as I said, in Weber's work on religious beliefs and how they were propagated in order to allow people to think on the divine grace and also make money at the same time. And we also have some Romanian authors, and I found some interesting facts in a Russian author on the illusion of good, on how we perceive good and evil, and how all our actions are derived mainly from the idea of good and evil. And we are talking about, I don't know, common actions, things that we do every day, and of course, things that are reflected in this trade area and conflict zone and cooperation or not. And we have some of the Marx ideas on this part. I will not go into details. So, to conclude, we believe it's quite difficult to live our lives without looking at what's happening around us. Earlier, it was a parallel on conflicts and trade, on how conflicts relate to trade or not. And as we well know, this area was highly affected in this period, and we can expect conflicts to arise from this part, others that are already in progress. So it would be difficult not to think about limits in this area without acknowledging that they exist, even only in our minds. And it's more difficult for the progress of humanity in general to acknowledge our helplessness in the face of this situation that we cannot understand, that are beyond us. And these cultural aspects that I was talking earlier, as well as commercial ones, are not susceptible to change. The basic remains the same, and the context is that changes. So we believe that, yes, culture is one of the factors that can best explain and can help us to better respond to this challenge. And it incorporates so many elements and ideas that the simple task of listing them and talking about every aspect encounters difficulties. So in order to clarify this subject, it's necessary to look in several directions. And what I have seen earlier is that most of the time, it's enough to look just around us. And after that, we can extrapolate and find some valid answers for our specific problems. And from our studies, we find out that the history of trade is nothing but the history of the relations between different societies, and that the main events are depicted by population flows and catastrophes. If we look there, we could see interesting facts that are caused by people, and they are claiming that in the interest of people, of societies in this case. And from our point of view, this connection between culture and conflicts, it's obvious, and it is with trade as same as it with trade relations, that all three were defined at about the same time and with the same purpose, for the progress of understanding interpersonal relationships, for the survival and the harmonious coexistence of societies. And if I can say so, if I can say something about the limitations of our study, this can be attributed mainly to the use of our studies and maybe on our insistence on these studies. We know they are very old. We have more adapted or more modern studies on these areas, on trade, conflicts, and culture. And hopefully our objectivity will not be an issue in here. We don't have any specific interests in these authors, other than just the fact that they wrote something on this relationship long before others. Thank you for your attention.
We thank you very much, Aurelia. Do you have any question, please? I have one. I appreciate that you've chosen a writer, a philosopher, an economist, and sociologist from the same time, let's say, from the same, they lived almost in the same time in the 18th of century, yes?
Yes.
My question is, are these point of views still available nowadays?
I think there are, because I was looking for a long time a connection between culture and trade, a connection that will be, I don't know, highly specified somewhere in some famous books. And Montesquieu was the first to do that. Adam Smith was more focused on in his first book on moral sentiments, and in the second on how these attitudes reflect in society, and how can we get better, how can we enrich. And Max Weber was the first to contradict Marx's theories about what was happening at that time. So
Yes,
yes, I believe they are very actual.
yes, sometimes the answers they come indeed from the past, but sometimes I think in that time, in fact, everything was at the level of the idea. Everything what they said, it was proved in the last century, in the 20th century. So, in my opinion, it's better to follow also some more new ideas. Okay, because we say the culture is changed every century. We keep only few features from the past. There are some main features that we will keep them forever, but some of them will be changed because of social conditions and economical and so on. And also technology is changing our lives and our culture, everything. Yes, and you have to adapt the ideas to nowadays. This is the main purpose, I
I
think.
would like to add there that there are about 170 definitions of culture. So I think we didn't find that neither the definition nor the understanding of culture to say that we are using it in some way or another. It's still a mystery, to say so, even though we are using this term such often and with such different meanings.
And what are you planning to do next? What kind of methodology are you plan to use for your research?
I think I will keep it as a historical and descriptive analysis. I had a study case on China and how it evolved on the model. I'm planning to focus it much on the more on the system we to define culture in the system, and the systems changed, not culture. This is some of the ideas that we are trying to get some proof. It's the right word.
Okay, thank you and good luck.
Thank you.
Okay, now we are saying welcome to Alexandra Cojocaru. I've seen that you are with us. She will talk about words eco-neighborhood, solutions for sustainable construction and energy-saving technologies. Welcome, Alexandra.
Hello. Yes, I'm Alexandra. I will share screen my presentation. Can you see the presentation?
Yes, perfect.
Perfect. Okay. I'm a PhD student at the Faculty of Civil Engineering and Building Services in Iași. I made the presentation about eco neighborhood in collaboration with my professor Isupescu Dorina. Since antiquity, human settlement has been divided into districts and neighborhoods. The neighborhoods are very important in the fabric of the city because of the damaging effect of the building sector over the natural environment. One of the most critical problems nowadays is reducing the energy consumption. Urban population and economic development is expected to grow. By 2050, 70% of the world's people will live in the cities. And the main challenge for cities will become controlling consumption and pollution while maintaining efficiency. I will present next a little history of urban planning movements that were developed before eco-urbanism. The Garden City movement was made by Ebenezer Howard, who started this new wave of utopian thinking. He created a constellation of interconnected, self-contained new towns surrounded by green belts and placed around a large main city. The main feature of Howard's Garden City were the ample green space, the single-family residential units, and the street patterns. Each of those circular new towns was divided into 6 wards, each designed to accommodate up to 5,000 people. Howard's vision of planned communities were widely practiced, particularly in England, but also in Slovakia and the Czech Republic. A new movement was the neighborhood unit. Clarence Perry was inspired by his previous involvement in the community-based social activities and influenced by the preceding concepts such as the Garden City. I explained before. The neighborhood unit had around 65 hectares with housing area for a population of 5,000 to 10,000 people. The center was for elementary school, public facilities, and places of worship, and the age of the unit was for the shops. The next movement was the Modernism. Le Corbusier was the most influential figure of the Modernists that made the principle of the modernist city in the 20s in France. The ideas of modern cities are present still in many places such as China, Qatar, and United Arab Emirates. The main characteristic of the neighborhood was high-rise functional buildings, open space, super blocks with internal pedestrian networks, and modern high-speed public transportation. The neo-traditional movements design is a town planning principle that is developed as one good solution to a variety of problems in suburbs communities throughout the country. Neo-traditional is also known as the new urbanism, an urban design movement which promotes environmentally friendly habits by creating walkable neighborhoods containing a wide range of housing and job types. Now I'll present the eco-urbanism that since the turn of century there has been a global diffusion of initiatives that attempt to integrate sustainability principle into neighborhood development. A growing body of literature exists on a multitude of initiatives such as Eco City, Eco Garden City, Green City, Eco Town. All those concepts are included in Eco Urbanism, which has the main feature to incorporate the green and the new technology such as smart grid, water treatment, solid waste management systems, net zero energy buildings, efficiency in transportation. Regarding the development type, four different types of eco-urban projects have been mentioned in the literature. The greenfield, that is shown in this picture, for example, Dongtan in China, brownfield or infield, built on reclaimed land, or urban retrofit. Sustainable design has three main approaches: environmental, social, and economic. The environment approach is divided into five principles: the sustainable site planning, safeguarding water and water efficiency, energy efficiency and renewable energy, conservation of material and resources, and indoor environmental quality. A new concept, eco-smart neighborhood, is defined by the synergy between nature, technology, and built environment. The technology is represented by various measures that reduce the impact of urbanization on the environment, such as solar panels, waste management system, water management system. The technology represented by the diversity of public green spaces with a variety of plant and animal species, and the built environment with different types of public and private function in the neighborhood. The 2030 challenge was that the scientists gave us 10 years to reduce the greenhouse gas emission reduction, to make the reduction in order to avoid the catastrophic climate change. The process of decarbonization aims to improve the performance of every major metropolitan system to create a healthier, more sustainable, and more livable city. There are 8 sustainable development strategies. The buildings, the strategy state of existing building stock, which consumes much more energy than necessary due to the age and less efficient performance of the majority of the current structures. Upgrading those buildings will reduce carbon emission and ensure future economic viability. Urban Metrics, which analyzes the real estate and land use. Smart infrastructure that explores systems designed to optimize resource performance. Mobility, development of transit and connectivity. Water, development of water waste and treatment of water. Waste solution to reduce the carbon load of waste treatment. Community engagement, developing programs to engage citizens. Energy, developing wind farm and large-scale photovoltaic systems. In the current development of EcoCity, in China, for example, energy efficient residential neighborhood development becomes one of the focus. The Chinese government launched in 2010 a program, a demonstration program of 8 pilot cities in its attempt to promote low carbon urban development. Next step is the utopic Gaia level city. The eco-cities is just a step before the Gaia level city. This concept has all the standards, the eco-city standards checked, and also purifies the air and improves the environment. That's all my presentation. If you have any questions, I made it quick.
Thank you. I have a question.
Okay.
So what do you think is the action regarding the development of the cities in the future due to this crisis and what we learned from it?
I think this crisis made us think more about the environment because when the lockdown happened, we saw that the pollution drastically went down. And I think we should focus more on the sustainability nowadays.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Alexandra. I have a question too, if you allow me, please. How eco-urbanism can be developed in Romania?
I think in Romania we're making small steps, making some of the cities greener, but maybe in the future creating more governmental scaled program will improve our development in the cities, because we know that some of the cities are like smart cities or developed like this.
Thank you very much. Other questions? Okay.
Thank you.
Now I want to send my apologies to Mr. Sebastian Tocar. Please excuse me, I made a mistake. It was your turn before, but I confused the lines. So now I pass the virtual floor to Sebastian Tocar, and we are listening his presentation about the factors that impede FDI attraction to Romania. Welcome, Mr. Sebastian.
Hello. I hope you hear me.
Yes, perfect.
That's not a problem. That was a very, very interesting presentation that my colleague made. Just one moment. I will share screen. Okay. So, hello to everyone. My name is Sebastian Tocar, and today I will present one of the implications of the elaboration of an index, trying to estimate the attraction, the potential of FDI attractiveness to European countries, and namely the implication relates to the investigation of the factors that deter the attraction of foreign direct investment to Romania. First of all, some introduction for the colleagues that are not very much into this field, into this topic. The economic results of developing countries, including, of course, Romania, are largely determined by the fulfillment of their potential of attracting foreign capital, foreign investment. Similarly to all post-communist countries, Romania's volume of foreign direct investment is somehow lower than the level of the developed countries. And among the developing countries and in the region in the Eastern Europe, Romania's amount of foreign direct investment per capita is also among the lowest. The factors identifying these factors, the factors that determine these results, could provide a more effective strategic orientation of the policies related to the attraction of foreign investments. And I took the culture-specific investment attractiveness index as a basis for the identification of these factors, of these deterrents that impede the attraction of foreign direct investment into Romania. I'll try to explain in a few words what is this culture-specific investment attractiveness index. It has its origins in the analysis of the specialty literature, and it is elaborated on the basis of 20 indicators representing 6 categories of factors, namely economic factors, infrastructure, technology, institutional political factors, human factor, and cultural factors. The analysis of the reliability and adequacy of the sampling demonstrated the correctness of the set of selected indicators and the opportunity to develop this a composite index. As a result, this index was developed. So, first of all, this way of approaching the weaknesses in terms of investment development of a relevant approach for several reasons, and I will try to put it into a few points. First of all, this index is a composite index, encompasses 20 quantified determinants of foreign direct investments, including factors of cultural origin, which are often neglected in the specialty literature. So it provides a somehow, let's say, comprehensive set of factors, of FDI determinants. Second of all, this index provides a basis for comparison due to the presentation of the results of the calculation in the form of categorization of European countries by investment attractiveness, as you will see very soon. And thirdly, this index demonstrates a very strong correlation with the value of foreign direct investments attracted per capita in European countries, so it is a relevant indicator. a little bit about the methodology. The data, the sources of the data correspond to the sources used for the elaboration of this index, and include online databases of international institutions, the Heritage Foundation database, and the database of the Hofstadter's cultural dimensions. A few points about the method applied in this research. First of all, in determining the intensity of a negative impact of a certain factor on the investment attractiveness of Romania, I took in the account the difference from the values of the countries with a medium and very high attractiveness, and the importance of the factor that is presented in the components of the index, components metrics of the index, and is given by the loadings of the components. As this index contains elements which are in fact the factors with different units of measurement, in order to ensure the comparability of the differences between the scores for different variables, they have been standardized, as you can see. So first of all, I performed a comparative analysis between the values of each factor for Romania and on one hand, and the average values for the countries with medium investment attractiveness and those with very high investment attractiveness for on the other hand. And in this figure you can see the categories in terms of investment attractiveness. The calculation of this index, as you can see, placed Romania in the, let's say, unsatisfactory area, with of the countries with very low investment attractiveness. And as I said about the component loadings, the importance of the deterrence and of course of the advantages or strengths of Romania identified in this way was verified by the rotated component in the rotated component matrix, as it was mentioned above. Let's go to the categories of factors of FDI or FDI determinants. First of all, let's talk about a little bit about economic factors. As you can see, the discrepancies between the scores of different countries for economic factors are presented in the figure 2. Among these factors, the gross domestic product per capita amount seems to represent the economic factor that mostly deters the attraction of foreign direct investment in Romania. The degree of openness of the economy, represented by the factor named trade, is also an issue that needs to be improved in Romania. The other two factors, namely economic freedom and market concentration, do not seem to represent any threat for Romania at this point. Let's go to the next category of factors. The category that includes three groups of factors: infrastructure, technology, and the human factor. And as we can observe, the human factor is not a weakness for Romania, probably even the opposite. An advantage for Romania is given by the negative relationship between the unemployment rate and the investment attractiveness, but this factor did not prove its high importance following the factor analysis. At the same time, an important factor that deters the attraction of foreign direct investment to Romania is the trade and transport infrastructure. So infrastructure is a great weakness for Romania. It has to be mentioned that in this respect, Romania is far below the level of countries with medium investment attractiveness. Another weakness of Romania is the technical progress represented by the factor of high technology exports, and I must mention that this factor is not very important for investment attractiveness following the results of the factor analysis, and the importance of the factors that as I have mentioned were presented in the rotated component matrix. So let's pass to the next category of factors, namely the institutional political factors that include six indicators. And about this category, I can say that in this context, the factors that mostly deter the attraction of foreign direct investment to Romania are the low government effectiveness, political instability, poor regulatory quality, and problems relating to ensuring voice and accountability. Among the factors mentioned, political instability is slightly less important than the other ones, than the others. The other ones. In the case of the factors of control of corruption and rule of law, the discrepancies compared to the countries with medium investment attractiveness are not so large, though the problems persist, as it can be seen in this figure. Generally speaking, all institutional political factors reflect problems that Romania has in this sphere, problems that are discouraging foreign investments, inflows of foreign capital into Romanian economy. And the last category of factors, but not least, is the category of cultural factors that includes 6 cultural dimensions elaborated by Gert Hofstede. And the analysis of cultural factors demonstrates that the greatest discrepancies that deter the attraction of foreign direct investment refer to great power distance, the collectivist character of Romania's culture, the strong uncertainty avoidance, and the restraint associated with Romania. Due to the sample size, which included many masculine countries with a high amount of foreign direct investment, figure 5 suggests that countries with stronger investment attractiveness are on average more masculine than Romania, though countries with a very high investment attractiveness are more feminine than masculine, yes, respectively feminine than those in medium level, in countries with medium level of investment attractiveness. Related the long-term orientation dimensions, the situation is similar. On one hand, the countries with greater investment attractiveness than Romania also have stronger long-term orientation, while on the other hand, the countries with very high investment attractiveness are more short-term oriented than those with medium investment attractiveness. So let's pass to the conclusions. Some points, only some points. Romania. So Romania is the country with very low investment attractiveness. First of all, respectively, the low amount of foreign direct investment attracted per capita. The most important factors that deter the attraction of foreign direct investment into Romania's economy are the low level of GDP per capita, the degree of openness of the economy, trade and transport infrastructure, a low government effectiveness, political instability, poor regulatory quality, and problems related with ensuring voice and accountability. The level of technology, control of corruption, rule of law are also issues that need some improvement by the Romania's let's say politics Yeah. Simultaneously, economic freedom and the human factor can be considered, compared to the other factors, can be considered Romania's strength in the competition for the attraction of foreign direct investment. In terms of cultural factors, Romania's low investment attractiveness is characterized by great, as I said, a great power distance, collectivism, strong uncertainty avoidance, and a restraint. The cultural specificity of Romania implies the cultivation of values that deter the attraction of foreign direct investments, while the cultural values that create a favorable cultural environment for the attraction of foreign direct investments do not receive due attention, and their importance is underestimated. It can be the conclusion. And given the above mentioned, I can say that a public policy aimed at improving the weaknesses in terms of investment attractiveness of Romania, along with concrete actions of intercultural awareness and of removal of cultural barriers between Romania and the countries that represent the sources of foreign direct investments can transform Romania into a country that could become a pole of attraction of foreign direct investment due to the capitalization of Romania's potential in this area. Thank you very much for your attention. And if you have any questions, please
Yes, we
not
thank you very
hesitate.
much. It was a very interesting presentation. Question, please.
Okay, so Sebastian, I have a question. You mentioned the voice and accountability as factor for low investment.
Yes.
Can you detail more this so I understand? What?
Well, these so voice and accountability. Voice and accountability relates to the freedom of speech.
Okay.
Yeah, and this sphere. More about freedom of speech and for transparency in, I think, for example, in acquisitions. Yeah.
Oh, you mean public acquisitions or?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
So and of course, maybe it could also include one aspect that relates to the accountability in the sense that public can participate in the elaboration of the politics.
Oh, I understand. Thanks.
You're
I
welcome.
have a question too. In all these categories that you've mentioned,
Yes.
which indicator is, let's say so, the worst possible for us? That's against us.
Well, I think the indicator that could be easily changed. Yes, if you look at the gross domestic product per capita, it's a very important factor that impedes the attraction of foreign direct investment. But its change is I won't say it's very easy. You know, it's something difficult. A factor that is important and can be relatively easily changed is I think trade and transport infrastructure, and I think we really have some problems with this area, with this topic, you know, and also institutional political factors, factors that can be relatively easily changed and improved, and also represent are characterized by a great gap, even compared to the countries with medium level of foreign direct investment attraction. I don't say about the countries with high.
Change. What we cannot change.
We cannot change. I think we can change everything if you want. Even the cultural factors can be, as I said, can be ameliorated if you want. Yes, we can.
This is the password. Let's say, if we want, no.
Yes, if you would. Yes, if we if you would want, something like this. Why? Because first of all, the level of intercultural awareness in Romania, as I consider, is not very high, you know. And second of all, there are cultural barriers that need to be understood, need to be explained to people. Yes, and even if the main idea of this topic provided by Hofstede is that cultural factors culture doesn't change, yes, or it changes very hard, I think that first of all, it is already changing. Now it is changing, and second of all, it could be okay. The actions in this area could be much efficient if the politics maybe will approach these factors more. I can't find the word, more with more awareness. Yes, with more being more aware of their importance, because cultural factors are very important. And okay, the amount of people speaking about their importance is growing. Yes, but I think we are not paying enough attention to this sphere.
Yes, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
And now, last but not least, we are listening to Andrei Ungureanu.
Just
Okay.
a second. Is Maria available? She is with presentation.
Yes.
Okay, so
Maria
I think
Lazarek.
Maria, yeah, Lazarek, with economic resilience via partial list square
Okay.
figure.
Perfect, perfect. So Maria, we are waiting for you. Thank you very much.
Hello. First of all, I would like to thank you, the organizers, for the opportunity to share my results. My name is Lazarek Maria, and I am a PhD student at Faculty of Economics and Business Administration of Alexandru Ioan Cuza University of Iași. My talk is entitled Economic Resilience via PLS Regression. This is an outline of my talk. First of all, we recall the definition of economic resilience. Then we describe the PLS regression method. In the end, we apply this method to accomplish an empirical study on Romania. What is resilience? What is a shock? The idea of resilience refers to the ability of a system to recover and stabilizes from a shock, or in more detail, the ability of a system to anticipate, to prepare for, to respond to recover from a turbulence, and even to move to an economy that exceeds or has the potential to overcome its original growth. A shock is a general disorder, sudden and violent, caused by a varied external causes, which is manifested by an imbalance. A different interpretation of resilience suggests that at last 4 interdependent dimensions are needed to begin to give full meaning to this notion: resistance, recovery, reorientation, and renewal. Regarding the methods of resilience analysis, these are calculation of indices or application of multivariate methods such as multiple regression, principal component regression, and partial least square regression. The PLS regression has its origin in the social science, more precisely in the economic science. PLS regression is a technique that generalizes and combines features from principal component analysis and multiple regression. Its purpose is to predict the value of a set of dependent variable using a set of independent variables or predictors. It is especially useful when we have to predict a set of dependent variables starting from a very large set of predictors that can be very strongly correlate with each other. The prediction is made by extracting a set of orthogonal factors called latent vectors, which are a linear combination of the original predictors. They are calculated by iterative application using singular value decomposition SVD. That is, the matrix is decomposed into two sets of singular vectors and their corresponding singular values. In the first step, we calculate the matrix A1 with this formula, where x0 and y0 are the scaled x and y matrices. Then apply the SVD decomposition for A1 and obtain the equality. In the next step, we calculate the latent vectors of x and the latent vector of y. Then in the next step, we estimate the x and y, and in the next step, in the third step, we compute the regression coefficient using latent vector as independent variables. Then the matrix, these metrics are subtracting from x0 and y0 respectively. Then the iterative process continue with these new matrices x1 and y1. The process stops when EX is completely decomposed into L components, where L is the rank of the matrix X. After completing this process, all matrices are completely rewritten, a regression stage in which the latent vectors are considered as independent variables follows. Now, I talk about an empirical study on Romania. For the analysis of resilience, we use two dependent variables, employment rate and GDP per capita growth, and 10 independent variables. These are the data sources. We consider data from the period 1994-2019. We follow all the steps given above in order to obtain each matrix separately. In this case, from the table below, we notice that we need 3 factors, which explain 84% of the variance of X and 69% of the variance of the Y. These 3 vectors are denoted T1, T2, and T3. To determine which variable explain these 3 factors, we look at the figure below. We note that the first factor is described by some variable like GDP per capita, employment rate. The second factor are described by inflation, consumer prices, and the 3 factors are described by industry, gross saving, and final consumption expenditure. This is the figure. Empirical results for the variable employment rate. We observe that both the first factor and the second one are statistically significant because the coefficients are 0.9 and 0.2 respectively, we can say that the variable that describe this factor have a positive impact on resilience. The better they perform, the greater the resilience. Empirical results for the variable GDP per capita growth, we observe that both the second factor and the third one are statistically significant because the coefficients are negative 0.4 and negative 0.5 respectively. We can say that the variables that describe this factor have a negative impact on the resilience. Lower values for this variable induce a higher resilience capacity. In conclusion, PLS is a technique that combines feature and generalizes PCR and multiple linear regression. PLS model is a data analysis model built specifically for the type of problem in which the number of independent variables is often very large compared to the number of the observation. To extract the latent vectors, the PLS regression also take into account the dependent variable such that the covariance between X and Y is maximum. And for Romanian, the most important vectors that have an influence on employment rate are the GDP per capita, employment rate, and the most important vectors that have an influence on GDP per capita growth are industry, final consumption expenditure, and gross saving. These are the reference, and thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Maria. It was a very nice presentation, and I congratulate you. I would like to ask you, you've gathered the figures, the numbers from 2000, I don't know, until 2019, I think. Yes?
Yes.
Would you repeat it again, the period?
1994, 2019.
Is this period of time relevant to emphasize the evolution? Is it enough, or you need a larger time, let's say?
Yes, because an economic crisis took place in the 2008 2010, recessionary stocks affect resilience.
So you want to show the evolution now, let's say in the developing time. Okay. Other question? Okay. So we don't have question. Now we are preparing to listen to Andrei Ungureanu with a very original subject about auditory marketing and the strategic integration of background music in the shopping environment. Andrei, you are welcome here.
Thank you. So I will make it short because it's something related to marketing. I don't know how many of the is interested in this subject, but I'm studying auditory marketing, coming from sensorial marketing, and I want to share my research paper regarding the impact on the background music in the shopping environment. So we all know that sensorial marketing is sight, hearing, smell, taste, and touch, and these create emotional association with a specific product or brand. Of course, brands are using sensory marketing since like 15 years ago. I'm going to talk more about auditory marketing, the relationship between musical experiences and cognitive performance has long been a focus of music research. Background music in this case. So I'm going to tell you about an experiment we did. We used a location, a coffee shop that was selling sweets and coffee in the center of Iași, Romania. The questionnaire was applied to both staff and consumers in the shop for a period of 20 days. Background music was streamed, is still streamed, but was streamed with a mobile application. Prototype installed on the tablet located in the shop. The playlist database consisted of 125 tracks with genres. Who is a music fan knows jazz, pop, and electronic. We used a shuffle algorithm called Fisher-Yates, and we arranged 3 playlists, which we called, of course, playlist number 1 and 2 and 3. The first was with jazzy tracks, the second one a different type of jazz, and the third an uplifting type of jazz, which is more with more energy. We used for variation and to define these specific genres, we used a variable called stamina, which is a dimension which includes a result of BPM, gamma, tempo of the track. Now I'm going to show you what. So this is a table of what we the output of this experiment. I'm not going to go into much details on it. So the key findings was that musical stream was reiterated based on the consumer's feedback until playlist reached 50% of the total tracks. The genre, subgenre, and stamina variations have direct implication with the music fit dimensions we did in our research. The degree of variation is high, but the variation intensity is average, so that the linearity and unity of the playlist is maintained. Even if such variation is desirable, the algorithm will create a small varied intensity to a medium one. So if to explain more, if the variation is extreme, it will have a negative impact. For example, if you play a very low energy track, like an ambient track, and then next track is a very high energy track, the people will sense this. So this is like I used to say, that music, background music, you notice it when it makes you, when it has a bad impact on you. This is the mobile app prototype. It looks like this. We've built it. We've been building it since 2 years ago. The main purpose is to create an algorithm, which this algorithm will help the playlist to have this variable called music fit, which will change the algorithm will change in the mood and the number of people present and adapt to the music accordingly. As conclusion, I would say that auditory marketing enhances the shopping experience, and music branding is able to differentiate the venue from its competitors with good results. And I think it has a lot of limitations, of course, but there's a lot of research to be made using this music fit dimension I was talking about. It can be used in the marketing strategy, and shops patronage can positively affect consumer behavior, and we can adapt even with this crisis, pandemia, because music and background music are still a good way to use it for brand loyalty. Although because in a lot of research, we've discovered that subjectivity can be considered high. So the playlist had a lot of similarity in terms of BPM, genre, subgenres, and frequency. So with that people won't say that the different music genres are not appealing to them. This music fit tool is going to affect the playlist in the future. It can be immediately tested on the venue where the experiment occurs, and the data can be synced with the feedback collected from the location manager, staff, and consumers. for example, I'm just going to show you so you understand better what I'm saying about the music fit. So if you take a health clinic, you put like a range from 0 to 2. The crowd when it's 4, the energy of the playlist should be 2, and so forth. For restaurants, cafe, pub, we should sync the venue classification, the crowd that is actually live at that moment, with the energy of the tracks, the background tracks. I think I didn't bore you too much with this. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Andrei. It was a very nice presentation. I have a lot of questions, but not now. We discuss privately.
Okay.
As you know, we used to meet together after every final conference. We used to go to eat something, to drink something. Now everything is in our mind. And we hope that next year everything will be better. We'll meet face to face and we'll discuss, we'll exchange ideas directly, not via internet. But I think it was a good experience, not only what kind of experiences you've brought here, but it was very nice for the start. It was a hopeful start, in my opinion. And I congratulate all of you. I thank you very much, Andrei, because you gave us a lot of support, and you did a great job. And who is interested to hear also presentations from the panel 2. In the panel 2, we'll listen the presentations in Romanian. They are still working there, so we can move there. Who cannot understand Romanian, I want to wish you a nice day, and hope you will be next time together with us. We are waiting for your articles, and see you soon. For every question, please don't hesitate to contact us. Thank you very much. Have a nice day, all of you. Bye.
Thank you.